Welcome, everybody, especially on this very special day of All Saints. And as we do give thanks to all the saints, especially St. Anne, we also thank God for saintly people, maybe not canonized, but people like John Rynn. And so I would ask that we begin this very special dedication and time together with this prayer to St. Anne. Loving St. Anne, grandmother of the Savior, ask for us the gift of truth and love to serve Mary's Son with open hearts, to care for others as you did. Help us in our need and obtain for us the healing life of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Good morning. On a cold, rainy Saturday in September, Marc, Odien, and I entered St. Anne's Church to interview members of the parish and the Save the St. Anne's Committee. Our plan was to edit those interviews into a video of images of the landmark church to help raise awareness of the intrinsic value of St. Anne's to our community. John Rynn was one of the parishioners we interviewed that day. John was excited to be part of the video and actually arrived early before we were ready to begin. But he didn't care if the cameras were rolling or not. He had 93 years of St. Anne's history to share, and those stories started spilling out immediately and directly from his heart. As it turned out that day, John was the last of our interviewers. He sat patiently in the front pew of St. Anne's, as you can see in this one picture, sitting and waiting as we interviewed those before him. When we asked John to move to the center of the church where the lighting was better for filming, John rose and straightened up his jacket, aided by fellow parishioner Ron Bates, who's here today, and again in the image you can see here. As you can see in that photo, it was a touching moment of care and respect that clearly indicated John's stature within St. Anne's Eastside Parish. Surprisingly, however, when the cameras began rolling, John became a bit reticent in talking about St. Anne's. We weren't sure if listening to those who came before him had intimidated him, or perhaps he was just getting tired. But regardless, try as we could, John's most consistent statement was that he wasn't all that smart about a lot of things. After several minutes of such answers, we were about to give up when all of a sudden, John looked up at us and simply stated, "You know, this is what the hell they call it, an icon." Marc and I suppressed laughter out of respect for this plain-spoken gentleman and an acknowledgement of our presence in the church. But in that moment, it was as if John was inspired by the spirit of St. Anne's as he continued to speak about the beauty of the church and its value to the Buffalo community, and that it didn't need to be torn down. John Rynn then caught us both completely off guard by comparing St. Anne's value to the Buffalo community with the Darwin Martin House and Graycliff, both designed by renowned architect Frank Lloyd Wright. John noted the millions of public and private dollars that were designated for those projects, and then said St. Anne was just as deserving. In that moment, John Rynn nailed it. The whole reason that everyone who cares about St. Anne's is fighting for its survival. When we received word last week that John had passed, it was bittersweet. While we hardly knew him, we had fallen in love with this direct spoken man with a passion for even though he was 93 years young. Immediately, Marc and I decided to honor John by dedicating our St. Anne's video in his memory. We are honored to have known John Rynn, and we hope that by dedicating our Buffalo-style video, it will help John achieve the dream of saving St. Anne's. Thank you all for coming, and now I'd like to introduce New York State Senator Tim Kennedy.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is such an extraordinary morning, and as we celebrate All Saints Day here, you can feel there's a little bit of divine intervention, wouldn't you say? And I can tell you that this here, and I recognize everyone's wearing the We Are St. Anne's t-shirts that say We Are St. Anne. Well, we are St. Anne in not just the folks that are here today to a call to action to help to save this beautiful, iconic structure, but we are St. Anne's as a community, as a series of neighborhoods throughout the city of Buffalo, and of course, as the city of Buffalo. St. Anne's Church represents everything that's positive about the city of Buffalo. It represents our history, our present, and of course, St. Anne's represents our future. And we, as a collective body, must ensure that St. Anne's remains as this iconic structure right in the city of Buffalo that helps to tell the story of the history of the city of Buffalo well into the future for generations to come, for our children and grandchildren and generations that we will never come to know. And I will let you know that as a ancestor of German immigrants that came over to this beautiful city, some folks don't know, I have the last name Kennedy, right? So everybody says, oh, geez, you're Irish. Well, I am Irish, but I'm also a little bit of German as well. And my great-great-grandfather had the last name Dobmeyer, actually owned the Dobmeyer Hotel, which some of you will recognize, which is now Ulrich's Tavern. My great-great-grandparents on both sides of my mother and father were City of Buffalo residents. So were my great-grandparents and grandparents, my parents, and now my wife and I are raising our children right here in the city of Buffalo. St. Anne's is the history of the city of Buffalo. We must ensure that St. Anne's exists for the future of the city of Buffalo as well. A 127-year-old structure that has baptized thousands and thousands of individuals into this great community, that has married thousands of families into this great community, and has buried thousands of individuals in this great community as well. John Rynn, at 93 years old, was one of those individuals who lived his life loving what St. Anne's was all about, helping the poorest of the poor in this community, being a beacon of hope in this community for so many individuals that needed hope when they could least afford it. St. Anne's stood there for those individuals, and John Rynn stood there with St. Anne's. And so we, in memory of John Rynn today, celebrate St. Anne's history in this great community, in this great city, and we celebrate what it offers for the future in the east side of the city of Buffalo, and not just a beacon of hope for the east side, but for a beacon of hope for all of the city of Buffalo and of Western New York. So with each and every one of you today, I'm going to take off my coat, and I'm going to join you because we as a community, we are St. Anne's. So I happily add this to my T-shirt collection, and I proudly join you in wearing this today. We are St. Anne's. Now, we wouldn't be here without so many of you coming to join us. And I'd like to thank, once again, Father Roy Herberger, the pastor of St. Anne's and Sts Columba-Brigid, my man. Christina App, the co-creator of Buffalostyle Save St. Anne's video. How about a round of applause for Christina App? Paul McDonnell, the chairman of Buffalo Preservation Board. John Savage, from the board, a board member of the Save St. Anne's Committee. And a special thanks and recognition to Chris Odien from Western New York Media as well. Thank you very much. Oh, Marc Odien. Did I say Chris? I'm sorry. To Marc Odien, thank you very much. To the media, thank you very much for being here. We all recognize how important this is. And I can tell you that there has been no one that has been as focused and as aggressive as Councilmember Darius Pridgen at helping to make Buffalo what it is, to help reinvigorate our community, to help breathe hope and light and life back into the east side of the city of Buffalo, into the city of Buffalo as a whole. We are tremendously proud to have him as someone who is fighting and standing with us every single day in the council and in the church community as well. and we are so proud to stand with him today. It's my honor and privilege to introduce our great pastor of True Bethel Baptist Church on East Ferry Street, and the council member of the Ellicott District in the city of Buffalo. I'm proud to introduce council member Darius Pridgen.
Today is very important in everything that the committees and individuals who are dedicated to saving St. Anne's are doing. It's my job, I think, as an elected official, to do more than legislate and to do more than checks and balances of the government. But I'll wait until we get all, everybody's getting reset. I don't have this many mics on Sunday morning. I wish I did.
But he has that many ears in the church, believe me.
But what is most important, one of the most important jobs that I have is ensuring that communities are stabilized and that communities are not ruined regardless of whether it is by an absentee landlord of a two-dwelling house or a multi-million-dollar organization of a $1 million house that just happens to be the house of God. You know, one of the, I think, profound things in this is that the church is there to do what we call spiritually save people. And I want to ensure that the organization, which is known as the Buffalo Diocese, does the same thing with the building. In our walk of life and the other hat that I wear, it is about taking people who are torn down, taking people who have gone through devastating times in their lives. And not only do we clothe them and feed them and give them a spiritual walk, but we help rebuild them. And so if we do that with people, I think that it is important that we do that with such a significant structure as St. Anne's, that we take that which is a tad bit run down, that we take that which has had its share of problems, but that which, like people, is able to be saved. It is my drive right now. It is my focus to ensure that the wrecking ball never meets with St. Anne's Church. And I have committed, and I asked, and this is the truth, I asked Councilmember Franzak, and he assured me, and he's in this fight also, although it is not in his district, he is in this fight because it's close to his district. And I said to him that I've never been arrested in my life, and this is the truth. Not that I remember. I had some college days I might not recall so well, but I've never been arrested in my life. But this is my commitment to this committee. If on the day, and I've done this on other projects, that they went to do things and I stood in front of them within the last year and stopped crews from coming. If I fail at this, and there's a wrecking ball that ever comes close to it, it will be the first time in my life that I commit to you that I'll be arrested. Because whether I have to chain myself, and I mean that, if we, and I asked the council member, and I'm sure I've got my state senator with me.
And I've never been arrested either.
Right, that we would literally chain ourselves there and to the last breath to keep St. Anne's standing, alive, and well in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy and Councilman Pridgen. We'd like to now introduce the chairman of the Buffalo Preservation Board, Paul McDonnell.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Christina. I was honored to be part of the video, I don't know, about 5 weeks ago. It was interesting. The day of the video, I showed up. I think we had about 3 inches of rain that day. It was one of the rainiest days we've had all season. and I've been walking through the building, and I hadn't been there in years, and sometimes you expect the worst when you hear all these reports, and I'm walking around with my camera, all the lights are on, the church is beautiful, and I didn't see any water coming in the building. I mean, it was amazing that it was in such good shape. Sometimes, as chairman of the Buffalo Preservation Board, I have to look at some of these things from a detached point of view. Is the building worthy of landmarking? Obviously, this building is worthy of landmarking. I think it meets almost all the criteria. It only has to meet one. There are 9 criteria, and I think we felt it met 7, and we probably could have pushed it to meet 9. But beyond that, it is a landmark. I mean, without anyone saying it's a landmark, without any type of governmental acknowledgement, it is a landmark, and it's been a landmark since it was built in the 1870s by the German community. And this is sort of the fun part of my job. This is the part of my job where I get to do something where I think really matters, and where I've really had a great opportunity is to meet all the people here. And we've had some wonderful people. And I guess Buffalo's so small. I see the sisters here. I see them at church once in a while at St. Joe's. Senator Kenny, a fellow St. Joe's grad here. And then we have John, a Canisius grad, but we won't talk about that. And then Reverend Pridgen, who, served on the school board. And I happen to be director of facilities for the school board. So, everyone coming together. And I think that's what's so great about this. Not everyone's from St. Anne's. I'm not from St. Anne's, but I feel like I am now. But I just want to pledge to you that you have the utmost support from the Preservation Board. We don't have a full-time secretary anymore, so we actually wrote up the nominations ourselves. We're all volunteers. We wrote up the nominations. In fact, that's why there was probably a little bit of a snafu in getting the proper coordination. But it's going to the Common Council on Wednesday. That is, I think, the most important date. So any supporters, any and all supporters, if you can be there on Wednesday and show your support like you did the last time. I mean, it was really, really wonderful. I think Reverend Pridgen can say how touching it was to see everyone there because everyone spoke from their heart. And one last thing about John. I had the opportunity to meet John the day of the interview. And it's sort of funny how windy it is out there today, isn't it? Do you think he's watching over? Yeah, I think he is. So thank you, everyone. And I just wanted to, again, pledge my full support for this.
When you talk about support, John Rynn was there every step of the way, and I have no doubt that at the Common Council meeting, John will be there in spirit, guiding all of us and hopefully shepherding St. Anne's to salvation. And one of the people who worked with John in this project and helping to save St. Anne's and knew him not only as a committee person or someone involved in the project, but as a friend, is John, and I've never known, Sawitz, and he is on the St. Anne's committee, and I'm pleased to have him here with us, willing to speak today. John, thank you.
Good morning. I haven't known John for 93 years, obviously, but I've known him for a while. I've gotten to know him quite well. I consider him a very good friend. I miss him dearly. Every week when he'd come to church, the first thing out of his mouth would be, "What happened this week? Are we getting any further ahead?" Well, he was with us right to the very end. I spoke to him the day before, and he wanted to know what happened, okay? We are here not to fight the diocese. We are here to save St. Anne's Church and Shrine. It's a worthwhile cause, and that's what everybody that's here, that's the reason we're here. So I'd like you to keep that in mind and keep John's spirit in mind and let us move forward with this project. Thank you very much.